Ever been in one of those moments where your brain just stalls? You're in a meeting, someone throws an unexpected question your way, and suddenly your mind goes blank. Your heart races, your mouth dries up, and inside your head, it's just radio silence. You know you have something smart to say. You want to sound confident, in control, maybe even a little impressive. But all that comes out is a mumbled, I'm not sure. And just like that, the moment's gone. You feel small, embarrassed, maybe even a little mad at yourself. Yeah, been there too. That gut punch feeling of not being able to express yourself in real time, it sticks with you. And it's not just at work. It's when you're pitching your startup idea, explaining your side during a fight with your partner, or trying to make a decent first impression at a family gathering. The fear of being misunderstood, or worse, being invisible, is real. That's where Matt Abrahams's book, Think Faster, Talk Smarter steps in like a deep breath and a cold glass of water. It's not about sounding like some fancy TED speaker with rehearsed jokes and perfect timing. It's about unlocking the ability to think clearly under pressure and express yourself with calm confidence, even when things go sideways. In this audiobook-style guide, we'll explore the ideas from Matt's book, not as stiff tips or corporate strategies, but as real-life tools you can use today. We'll walk through how to overcome that freeze response, how to organize your thoughts in a heartbeat, and how to build genuine, engaging communication in every part of your life. No jargon, no fluff. Just the stuff that actually makes you feel more prepared, less anxious, and way more like yourself, even in the heat of the moment. Let's dive into Chapter 1, where we tackle the moment you freeze and how to flip that switch. Chapter 1, Stop Freezing, Start Flowing. Let me tell you about college me. I was 19, full of opinions, halfway decent at writing, but absolutely awful at thinking on my feet. One afternoon in class, the professor turned to me and said, "What's your take on this idea, Alex?" Everyone looked, and I just sat there. My palms were sweaty, knees weak, arms were, well, you get the picture. I managed to stammer something that sounded like a bad Google translation of my actual thoughts. Later that day, I replayed it in my head at least 47 times, wondering why I always froze when it mattered most. Turns out, freezing is a totally human response. It's not because you're dumb or socially awkward or just not a talker. According to Matt Abrahams, freezing happens because we're thrown into what he calls spontaneous speaking situations, and our brains don't like surprises. Whether it's a Q&A, a networking event, or an off-script moment in a presentation, these situations jack up our anxiety. And when anxiety spikes, cognitive resources plummet. Your brain gets hijacked by the emotional fear of failure, and all your brilliant ideas take the back seat. Now here's the first big shift. Instead of judging yourself for freezing, normalize it. You're not broken, you're just human. And like any human skill, spontaneous speaking can be trained. Matt's first strategy? Ground yourself before you speak. That means taking 1 second, literally one, to breathe, plant your feet, and buy your brain a moment to catch up. It's like hitting the clutch before switching gears. When someone asks you a question or throws you into the spotlight, don't rush to fill the silence. Own it. A calm pause can feel powerful. Think about the last time you watched someone totally cool under pressure. Were they rambling? Nope. They paused, they breathed, they responded, and you trusted them more for it. Let me give you an example that totally changed how I think about this. A friend of mine, Jamie, was doing a job interview on Zoom for a role she really wanted. Halfway through, the interviewer said, "Describe a time when you had to make a tough call on the spot." And instead of jumping into a messy answer, Jamie smiled and said, "That's a great question. Give me a second to think." She took a sip of water, glanced to the side, and then started. It was calm, natural, and the story she told, clear, confident, and way more compelling than it would have been if she just blurted something out. She got the job, by the way. So what happened there? Jamie bought time without losing face. That's the secret sauce. When you pause with purpose, you're telling your body, I'm safe. And when your body believes you're safe, your brain gets back online. Matt also introduces the simple but powerful tool called the ABCs of speaking. But don't worry, we're not going into Sesame Street here. ABC stands for audience, brevity, clarity. Even in the moment, especially in the moment, these 3 guideposts can keep your thoughts from spiraling. Think about your audience. Who's listening, and what do they care about? Keep it brief. Don't over-explain. People remember punchy, not preachy. And aim for clarity. Pick one main idea and build around it. Let's say someone at work suddenly asks, "What's your take on our new project direction?" Instead of saying, I guess it's okay. I think we could maybe look at some options or something. You could pause, breathe, and say, I think the new direction is promising, especially because it aligns with what our users have been asking for. But I'd love to see more data before we fully commit. Boom. Audience, your team. Brevity, 1 sentence. Clarity, 1 main idea and a soft push for more info. You didn't need a speech, just a little structure and a lot of calm. But here's the kicker, and this is where Matt's insights really hit home. Most people don't need more to say. They need permission to say less, better. That voice in your head saying, say something impressive now, is just anxiety playing dress up. What people actually connect with is authenticity. You don't have to be witty or wise all the time. You just have to be present. Think about that for a sec. What if you stopped chasing the perfect answer and just focused on the real one? That shift alone can change the way you communicate in every part of your life, from job interviews to first dates to heated family dinners. When you stop freezing and start flowing, you show up. Not as a polished robot, but as the clear, grounded, thoughtful version of yourself. And that's exactly who people want to hear from. Chapter 2. Think in structures. Okay, so let's say you've mastered the pause. You're no longer panicking in silence. Great, but now what? You've got to say something, right? And that's where people get tangled. They think, I don't know what to say. But here's the truth. You do know. You just don't know how to organize it on the fly. Enter the magic of structure. Matt Abraham says that when your brain is racing and time is ticking, structure is your lifeline. It's like giving your thoughts a GPS so they don't crash into each other. Without structure, your message wanders. With it, you sound like you planned this answer for weeks, even if you just made it up 10 seconds ago. Let me show you how this works in real life. Let's say someone asks you, why do you think this marketing campaign didn't work? You can answer that with a structure Matt loves called problem, solution, benefit. It's exactly what it sounds like. You say, problem. Our messaging wasn't clear, so people didn't understand what we were offering. Solution. We can reframe the campaign around one strong, central idea. Benefit. That'll grab attention faster and improve our conversion rate. That's it. Just 3 beats. But it sounds smart, it sounds intentional, and it keeps people locked in. Even better, it keeps you from rambling into the weeds. Matt gives several go-to structures like this. Past, present, future, point, reason, example. What, so what, now what. They're all simple, memorable templates that your brain can plug content into when you don't have time to think. And once you start using them, they become second nature. Think about stand-up comics. They don't go on stage and just wing it. They've practiced their beats. They know the setup, the pivot, the punchline. You don't need to be a comedian, but that same rhythm, it helps you be clear, memorable, even persuasive. The next time someone asks you something unexpected, don't panic. Just think, what structure could I use to shape this answer? Even just knowing there's a structure gives your brain something to hold on to. And suddenly, you're not just talking, you're communicating. Chapter 3. Say it simply. Let's talk about one of the biggest myths around sounding smart. Somewhere along the line, we started thinking that big words and complicated explanations made us look impressive. Like if we toss around phrases like ideological framework or synergistic methodology, people will see us as geniuses. Spoiler alert, they won't. They'll just tune out. Matt Abrahams calls this the curse of knowledge. Once we know something, we forget how hard it was to learn. So we start over-explaining, using jargon, or packing 5 ideas into one sentence. And the person listening, they're either confused, bored, or quietly praying we'll stop talking. But here's the truth. Simple is smart. Simplicity isn't dumbing it down. It's leveling it up. When you speak simply, you show that you understand what you're talking about. You're not hiding behind buzzwords. You're showing up with clarity. Take Steve Jobs, for example. He didn't stand on stage and say, "The iPhone is a revolutionary mobile communications platform optimized for multifaceted digital utility." He said, "An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator, all in one." Boom. Mic drop. If you want people to listen and remember what you say, simplicity is your best friend. Here's something Matt suggests. Once you've answered, ask yourself, would a smart 10-year-old understand this? If not, simplify. Use everyday words, short sentences, clear images. That's not lazy, it's brilliant. Let me give you an example from a friend who works in cybersecurity. At first, he used to say things like, "We implement multi-factor authentication protocols to ensure zero-trust access architecture." And I'd just blink at him. One day, he switched it up. He said, "We make sure no one can sneak into your digital house without a key." I got it, instantly. And I cared. You know what else happens when you speak simply? You feel more confident. Try it. Say out loud, "I help small businesses grow using smart online tools." Now say, "I specialize in deploying strategic optimization frameworks for client-side performance enhancement." See the difference in your body, in your voice? The first one, human. The second, corporate robot. Don't be a robot. Be real. Be simple. And trust that your message will hit harder because of it. Chapter 4. Trust the pause. Here's a little truth bomb. Silence isn't awkward. It's powerful. But somewhere between middle school presentations and awkward family dinners, we learned to fear the pause. Like, if we're not filling every second with noise, we'll lose people's attention. Wrong. Matt Abrahams wants you to fall in love with the pause, not just the one at the beginning of a response, but the one in the middle of your thoughts. Pausing gives your message weight. It gives your listener space to absorb what you're saying. And here's the kicker. It makes you sound more confident, not less. Think about the most compelling speakers you've heard. They don't rush. They let their words breathe. That space between phrases? It's not empty. It's loaded. It says, "I'm in control. I'm not afraid of silence. I want you to hear this." And the bonus? It gives you a second to catch your breath, collect your thoughts, and make your point even stronger. There's this myth that being a good communicator means being fast, witty, always on. But the best communicators, they slow down. They make you lean in. I remember watching a friend give a toast at a wedding. She wasn't the funniest or most polished speaker, but she paused. After each heartfelt line, she let it land. And because she did, people cried. Not because of what she said, but because of how she made space for it to be felt. You can do that too. Whether you're in a meeting, a podcast, or just standing around the kitchen island with your roommates, use the pause. Trust it. Don't rush to fill space. Let your words do the work. Matt even suggests something so simple it's almost funny. Breathe in between sentences. That's it. Just breathe. Not like a dramatic sigh or a yoga exhale, just a calm, deliberate breath. It tells your nervous system, we're okay. And it tells your audience, I'm here with you. Because at the end of the day, communication isn't about sounding perfect. It's about connection. And connection lives in the spaces between the words just as much as in the words themselves. So, the next time you're speaking, pause, let your words breathe, and watch how people start really listening. Chapter 5. Manage anxiety. Don't eliminate it. Let's be honest, nobody likes the sweaty palms, shaky voice, or that dreaded blank mind when you're suddenly put on the spot. Whether it's in front of a boss, a class, or a first date, our natural instinct is to wish it all away. Just make the anxiety vanish. But here's the twist Matt Abrahams teaches. You don't have to get rid of anxiety to speak well. You just have to learn to ride the wave. Think about it like this. Anxiety is energy. It's your body gearing up for performance. Your heart beats faster, not because you're weak, but because your system is prepping you for action. The problem isn't the anxiety, it's how you respond to it. So the question becomes, how do you manage it? Matt shares a powerful truth here. You don't fight anxiety with logic, you fight it with techniques. One of the best? Reframing the experience. Instead of thinking, I'm nervous, tell yourself, I'm excited. Your body can't really tell the difference between anxiety and excitement. It's the same adrenaline cocktail. But your brain? It follows your words. Change the label, change the experience. Another technique Matt loves is getting out of your own head. And this one hit me hard. Because so many of us, especially in high-pressure moments, become obsessed with ourselves. How do I sound? What if I mess up? What are they thinking about me? It becomes this spiral of self-judgment. But if you flip the focus outward toward the audience, toward impact, you break the cycle. This shift isn't just mental, it's physical. Matt suggests anchoring yourself with something concrete. Place your feet flat on the floor, press your hands together, take a deep breath, and exhale slowly. These small, grounding actions tell your body, you're safe. And let's talk about that inner voice, the one whispering, you're gonna screw this up. You know what? That voice never fully goes away. But you get better at talking back. You learn to say, hey, I might not be perfect, but I know what I'm saying matters. And guess what? That's enough. Don't wait for anxiety to disappear before you speak. Use it. Shape it. Let it sharpen your presence instead of shrinking it. Because the goal isn't fearlessness. It's fear mastery. Chapter 6. Be clear about your intent. There's this underrated superpower that the best communicators all have. And no, it's not the ability to quote stats on demand or drop killer one-liners. It's the ability to be clear about what they're trying to do in any conversation. Matt Abrahams calls it intentional communication. Before you speak, especially in high-stakes or high-pressure moments, ask yourself, what's my goal here? What do I want this person to know, feel, or do? Sounds simple, right? But we rarely do it. We get caught up in reacting, responding, filling space, without first aligning with purpose. And when we do that, our message gets muddled. We ramble, we confuse, we talk a lot, but say very little. Let me give you a quick example. Imagine you're pitching an idea to your manager. You start explaining what the project is, how it works, what inspired it, all the features. And somewhere in there, you forget to actually ask for approval, or funding, or even interest. You didn't go in with a clear intent, so the message floats away, unfinished. But imagine instead, you start by thinking, my intent is to get their buy-in. Now everything you say shapes around that. You share the idea in a way that excites them. You emphasize the benefits. You end with a direct ask. Now that is powerful communication. Matt talks about intent, not as a script, but as a compass. It guides your tone, your language, your pacing. If your intent is to inspire, you'll speak differently than if your intent is to explain. If your intent is to connect, you'll choose words that are warm, open, relatable. This changed everything for me personally. I used to jump into conversations trying to prove myself. But once I started pausing to ask, what's my actual intent here? things got so much clearer. Sometimes it was to encourage someone, other times it was just to listen well, and sometimes it was just to say, "Hey, I see you, I get it." When you know your intent, you don't overtalk, you don't overcomplicate, you aim. And people can feel that. They sense the purpose behind your words, and they lean in. So before your next tough convo, your next presentation, even your next awkward text, ask yourself, what's my intent? The answer might change everything about how you show up. Chapter 7. Practice spontaneity. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. You might be thinking, all of this is great, but I'm not good at thinking on my feet. I freeze, I stumble. I'm just not naturally quick. First off, you're not alone. In fact, most people aren't naturally quick thinkers. They've just learned to flex that muscle, because that's exactly what spontaneity is. A skill, one you can build. And Matt Abrahams gives us a game-changing reframe here. He says we can actually practice spontaneity. Sounds ironic, right? Practice being unplanned? But hear me out. Think of it like improv comedy. Those performers seem like they're just magically witty, but they've trained, they've run drills, they've worked on trusting their instincts and reacting in real time, and you can too. Start with low-stakes environments. Try summarizing a podcast out loud to a friend. Rephrase a headline in your own words. Or give yourself a daily challenge like, explain what you did today in 60 seconds, but only using metaphors. It sounds goofy, but it's training your brain to respond creatively, quickly, and clearly. Another tool Matt loves is the paraphrase pause. When someone asks you something, instead of rushing to answer, repeat the question back in your own words. Like, so what I hear you asking is how we'd handle the timeline. That gives you precious seconds to think, and it shows you're actively engaged. And when you do answer, let go of the pressure to be perfect. Matt emphasizes, clarity beats cleverness. You don't need to dazzle every time. You just need to respond honestly, simply, and with a touch of structure. Here's something wild. Spontaneity actually thrives on constraints. When you give yourself a frame, like, I'll give a quick example, then a takeaway, your brain relaxes. It knows what lane to drive in. You're not just reacting blindly, you're reacting within shape. And remember, spontaneity isn't about speed, it's about presence. You don't need to be the fastest talker in the room. You need to be the most tuned in. It's like jazz. The best improvisers don't play every note. They leave space, they listen, they respond, they play. And you can too. So give yourself permission to stumble, laugh, try again. Spontaneity doesn't demand perfection. It just asks for courage. Chapter 8. Speak to connect, not to impress. Let's end where it matters most. Connection. At the heart of Think Faster, Talk Smarter is this one truth. Communication is not a performance. It's a relationship. So many of us try to be perfect. We want the flawless sentence, the slick delivery, the wow factor punchline. But guess what people remember most? Not your polish, but your presence. Matt says the best communicators don't speak to impress. They speak to connect. They're real, relatable, human. They're okay saying, I don't know yet. They're okay being a little awkward, because they know that what builds trust isn't perfection, it's authenticity. Think about your favorite conversations. Were they smooth, rehearsed, or flawless? Probably not. They were full of laughs, pauses, stories, maybe even weird tangents. But they were honest, and that's what sticks. Matt encourages us to focus less on ourselves and more on others. Ask, what does this person need from me right now? Maybe it's reassurance, maybe it's clarity, maybe it's a moment of shared humor. When you center them, not you stop performing. You start connecting. And this applies to all kinds of situations, team meetings, job interviews, even text messages. When your goal is to be understood, not impressive, your energy shifts. You become real, and people feel it. So if you take nothing else from this whole journey, let it be this. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room to speak powerfully. You don't need all the right words. You just need the right intention. Speak from truth. Speak with structure. And speak to connect. That's what makes communication unforgettable. Conclusion. So let's rewind for a second. You've learned that anxiety doesn't have to own you. It can energize you. That structure is your secret weapon. That silence speaks volumes. And that connection beats perfection every single time. But here's the deeper truth. This book isn't just about talking. It's about showing up in your life with more confidence, clarity, and calm. Whether you're pitching an idea, navigating conflict, or comforting a friend, you now have tools that don't just change how you speak. They change how you live. Because when you can express yourself clearly, you get more than good conversations. You get better relationships, better decisions, a better you. So the next time life throws a curveball question, a surprise spotlight, or a tough conversation, don't panic. You've got this. Breathe, ground, connect, and let your voice rise from your center, not your fear. If this spoke to you, if you felt a shift in how you want to show up, then make sure you check out our next video. We're diving into how to master your inner dialogue, because the most important conversation you'll ever have is the one with yourself. Until then, be bold, be real, and keep talking smarter.